Welcome to the Empowerment Show with Melissa Heisler on the Linked Local Network. Link locally, connect globally. Every week, discover new personal choices with practical, inspiring guides. And now, here's Melissa.
Happy Tuesday, all, and welcome to the Empowerment Show. I'm Melissa Heisler, Empowerment Coach at It's My Life, and it is your life. Live it. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Eliana Gilad, who was first introduced to me through her TEDx Vail Women's Conference talk. She is a frequent keynote presenter, teacher, and performer at healing music, medical, and peace conferences throughout the world, including at the UN and the Chopra Center. To join our conversation, post your questions at facebook.com/The Empowerment Show. So let me tell you a little bit more about Eliana. She is a motivational speaker, teacher, composer, performer, and the founder of Voices of Eden, Ancient Healing and Transformational Music. She has dedicated her life's work to revive the conscious use of voice and rhythm as natural healing instruments. Eliana is author to Rhythms of the Natural Voice, Sound Healing with Hebrew Meditation Workbook, and Quiet in the Eye of Storm, Living Peace in a War Zone. Welcome to the show, Eliana.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa, so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we're very excited to have you here, and we'd love to know, how did you get interested in using sound for natural healing?
By wondering what it is that I'm doing here on this earth and what's really keeping me alive and what am I supposed to be doing. That question followed me from about 5 years old to 30-something years old, and that really is what connected me to sound, plus sound that comes from the inside out.
Sound comes from the inside out.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, actually, sound, that's such a loaded question. I mean, I could... There's an entire world, literally and figuratively, there's an entire world there. Because sound is actually, Melissa, the essence of all matter. Right? If we look at the essence of the atom, of all energy, what makes up energy? Anything that's physical are atoms, right? Energy and atoms make up energy. And the essence of the atom is vibratory. It's sound. And so we find this in literally every endeavor of humanity, from science to medicine. Ultrasound is sound. We see the computer or the machinery, but it's actually the frequency that's doing the work. To religions, every religion in the world, every religious system, from Judeo-Christian in our Western world, that God said, "Let there be light." In the Hebrew, it's the God said. Even the word said, "Vayomar v'yehi or." The word itself is the vibratory rate in Christianity, and then there was the word. This idea of the vibration being the spark to creation. And sound waves, think about that sound waves are physical, but we don't see them. Sound comes before light. And I believe that this is why we have such issues with our voice. Recent research shows that 73% of the professional population around the world suffers from extreme anxiety of public speaking. Mm. And I think that's because when we express ourselves, that we're, in essence, literally and figuratively, we're naked. That's our soul speaking. And it's so intimate. And we're not acculturated in human society to expose our soul. We're acculturated in human society to fit into society. And so there's this natural conflict there. And yet through sound and through ancient healing and transformational music, you can actually turn conflict into, alchemically into combustion forward and just have it be the greatest thing. And really, really very, very empowering. The height of empowerment. Did I answer your question?
You answered my question, and you sent us into a wonderful discussion as well, because I think you've hit on so many important points, that this idea that sound comes from the inside and that it is our naked self. That idea that expression of ourself comes from within.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not the other way around. And yet the entire way that we're acculturated is to go from the outside in. And I was very inspired by your own story that I heard you on a radio interview, and about like the difficulty with business that you had in the past. And I can really relate to that, and I see that today more and more people are meeting up with that as the world changes. And it's because we're living in a system, like I call it the 3 steps to do ABC, the 3 steps to enlightenment, the 3 steps to earning your living, the 3 steps to having the biggest, best, greatest job, whatever. But what does that mean? If it's the 3 steps to, it means that I'm not enough. I have to follow these steps. Hooey booey. You're already enough. Stop looking outside of yourself. You're wonderful, and it's okay to not know, and it's okay to not have the answer. And my experience is that when I have the guts to stop and listen to myself inside, well, then they're the answers. It's better than, it's better than Google. You don't even need an internet connection. And if the electricity goes out, you still get your answers. And it's right where you are.
Can't agree with you more. One of my largest struggles myself as a coach is the platform out there is you need to have your 3 steps to something. And I agree, it feels completely false because I can't tell you the 3 steps to it. I think the only 3 steps I can do is to help you tune into yourself. Those are the steps I can teach you on how to listen to yourself. It's a whole discussion about that, but I want to get back and focus on the work that you do, and back to this idea of sound before light. And I think that was such a strong image for me as well when you were talking about that first there was the word, first there was something spoken, and then there's a manifestation. Is that the premise behind ancient healing and transformational music?
Yeah. In fact, so when in the Bible it says, and then there was the word, how we look at it in modern life is we think words, language. No, that isn't so. It's sound without words. Language is cognitive. That takes us about 2 years. Like let's say when a baby is born. Right? It takes 2 years for there to be language patterns, and we learn language by listening. We don't come into this life cognitive, thinking, intellectual. We come into this world viscerally and intuitively. And this particular music modality bypasses the intellect. It is a conscious use of voice and rhythm as healing, transformational, and leadership tools. As in ancient times, we're talking thousands of years ago, we're talking about pre-biblical times. Leaders, they would avail themselves, they would go to the temples, and they would avail themselves of special application of wordless sound and rhythm that would attune them to the higher brain, to the higher intellect, which is beyond cognitive, which balances both hemispheres of the brain. And at that time, we were living in a feminine worldview. Feminine meaning that many different spheres and realms of reality exist at the same time. Not that it went away. I mean, nature is nature and the universe is the universe. Yet the way that we were focused was in a matriarchal, feminine worldview. And then that switched for the last 3,000 years to a masculine view and the monotheistic religions. And here we are at the end of that 3,000-year period, and we're moving back to the feminine viewpoint again. And the leaders then and the society then had a very, very advanced knowledge and sophistication and use of sound. Buildings were built. In fact, 20 minutes from here, I live in the Jezreel Valley in Israel, though I was born and raised beneath the Hollywood sign. But I live in the Jezreel Valley in Galilee in northern Israel, and 20 minutes from here is Tel Megiddo, which is actually the biblical site of Armageddon. And that place is amazing. There's a water system there that goes like 350 steps into the belly of the earth, and that water system was built through sound. And 4,000 years later, it still stands. It's just astounding. And new research are coming out today of the use of sound in both in building and in the use of the buildings. Recent research about Stonehenge and another out of Malta. Really amazing. So when you go, I take a lot of people to the ancient sites and have them experience the music. And if you're listening and this interests you, you can go to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/user/music piece. And there you can experience this music inside of the ancient sites. It's just astounding. There's a resonance to the space itself because the people who built these places were very conscious of the power of the sound, so that the buildings were made to accommodate the acoustics or to in service perhaps to the acoustics, because they knew the power of it and that we humans were the instruments in service to the sound, whereas today we are, let's say with music, for example, music is more prevalent in our lives today than ever before, and there is less harmony than ever before because the music is disconnected and it's synthesized. And in ancient healing and transformational music and in Voices of Eden music, you will never hear anything synthesized. It's all acoustic. It's all natural, organic. And that means that the resonance and so it's beyond cognitive, so it's always a challenge to speak about this. It's more experiential. You're asking about the silence and from the inside out, and it comes from attuning yourself to the essence of and the source of power, which is silence, which is the essence of the sound.
It is very, very difficult to be able to talk about the work that you do because it is not the cognitive. It is that visceral, experiential. I remember I had a teacher of mine who would say talking about theater is like dancing about architecture.
Ah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I think it's very much the same here, that being able to talk about the work that you do, it's much more that we need to experience it.
Well, would you like to experience it now? We can do a little test on the telephone.
We would love to experience it now.
There was something that came up also that you said before about, I can't remember what it was, but it made me think about the bells. Bells in ancient times, and, here we are at holiday season, and the day that this is being broadcast, I understand. Is that so, that we're being broadcast on Christmas?
Yes, it will be Christmas week that this will be live, yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, dear listeners, this is, from the Holy Land, telling you, Jesus is my next door neighbor. I live 20 minutes from Nazareth. and the bells ring. And bells were used in ancient times as a focusing tool and as today we use them as like positive Pavlov's dogs as empowerment tools, like when you have a negative thought, you can just ring the bell and refocus yourself. And here's a little tip. Okay, if we take a bell, and the bell that I'm wearing right now, and you can see them on the site, it's round with a little slit, kind of like a jingle bell. And the round is the feminine property, and the clapper is the masculine property. And the masculine causes the friction within the body of the bell. And it's actually the friction that causes the sound. That's the vibratory rate, okay? That's the essence of the sound. Well, that's the essence of harmony. Bells are, jingle, jingle, nice. So I think that's really, really cool. If it's the friction, there's no need to be afraid of conflict. Because it's actually the conflict. Maybe this connects to the not knowing, like the 3 steps to and the being naked. It's like that vulnerability that we have. Wow, yeah, it's scary. And yeah, there are conflicts. And yet when we don't run, I find, do you find this, Melissa, that when you meet your conflicts, that there you find your solutions? There you find your empowerment? There you find your harmony?
Absolutely. The image that I love, and I think this will resonate with you as well, is, and I don't know if it's all pine cones or if it's specific ones, but it takes the heat of a forest fire, the conflict of a forest fire, to actually open the pine cone to release the seed so that it can make a tree.
Oh, and really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love that image, and I think it's so much the same for us, is that the conflict that we go through, the challenges that we go through, if we go through them, it allows us to emerge into that thing that's next for us, or emerge into our true essence.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Yeah, the fire is the same notion. It's the friction. Well, actually, if you take 2 sticks, how do you make fire? You rub them together, and that's what ignites the fire.
One of those difficult things to relate to my clients and also to relate to others, that I think we have a tendency that we want to soothe others, that we want to take away their pain, when a lot of times that pain, that friction, is actually the best thing for us. It just doesn't seem like it at the time.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that actually, it's a disservice actually. That's where this music serves such a beautiful role, because it serves as like a midwife, like a cradle, soothing, crooning, that bypasses or softens that conflict and the pain, allowing you to contain it and to, like the fire you were just talking about too. It's like an alchemical transformation. from something that it's such a fine line, it's could be so destructive, and it can be so cleansing and so transformational. And when we know how to show up in that point and not run, because if we do run, I don't think I'm the only one, nor my clients. I think every one of us, when we want to have it all done, or the 3 steps too, or the getting, or the just be out of the discomfort, we actually cause ourselves more. It's self-destructive. Yeah, maybe for a moment, that's where addictions come from. For a moment, it's a momentary salve, yet then you create a dependency upon that thing that helped you run away momentarily from the deeper pain. And yet when you meet up with the deeper pain, well, there you find your solution. And the music, the conscious use of sound and rhythm in ancient times were actually used in times of transformation, in times of birth, in times of death, and quite consciously on a regular basis by leaders. Because think about leaders who need to make decisions, who are responsible for many, many things. So how do you make a decision, and how do you lead when there's so much at stake? And so the music was used as a power source, as a regenerator, as a replenisher, as a mother, and a container. And it's being brought back for use today. And it's medically proven.
Well, I think that would be a great segue then. I know that you're prepared to play a little bit for us today, and maybe you can tell us about what it is that you're going to play and what the healing elements are, or the time that you would play this particular piece.
Okay. Well, that's really a great segue, too, because I don't know what I'm going to sing. I never know what I'm going to sing. It's such a great, thank you for saying that. That's just so normal that you would say that, because that's how we live in modern times, right? I'm going to sing. I'm the one singing. Yet with this application of sound, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attune myself. I approach my body as an instrument. I connect to the gravity, the force of gravity in that magnetic lava at the center of the earth. That's feminine power. And I listen. And I'm not going to be thinking about what comes out of my mouth. I'm more focused on where the flow is in the body. There'll all be thoughts, and there'll be stuff coming up in my body, and all the fun. The art is seeing where the flow is. Like with the bell, the friction, where the rapids are. That's riding the rapids. And the result is the music, that I'm not thinking about the music at all. And there's always a particular focus. So perhaps, Melissa, you could provide us with a focus. Maybe I'll ask you, what would you wish for your listeners to experience when they're experiencing this music, such that they'll leave your show with, empowered?
Empowered is what came to mind. I love everyone
I know.
who listens to the show and who listens to what comes to you, to have that feeling of empowerment, of releasing that fear of being vulnerable, and to truly step into their power.
Oh, fantastic. That's beautiful. Yeah, it came, just as I said it to her, I go, oh, that's it. It's empowerment. Okay, and that's great with the bells, too. So as you're listening, what I would invite you to do is to just sit comfortably, place both feet on the ground. Unless you would like to lie down, you're welcome to do that as well. There's no right or wrong here. approach your body as an instrument and notice where there's flow and where there's stoppage. If you were to approach your body like a hollow reed, well, it's never 100% hollow, but there's always movement. And just notice where the vibratory rate of the voice and the vibratory rate of the bell vibrates inside of your beautiful instrument. And because this is not a performance, afterwards there's going to be a few moments of silence. Well, actually before the music and afterwards. And the medical research that's been conducted upon this music actually shows that it's in the silence after the music that its potency is most powerful. Kind of like throwing a little stone in the water, and then there's that echo, the vibration, the ripple effect. And notice what's happening inside of your body now.
That was very beautiful. Thank you for playing that for us.
Pleasure. Such an opportunity to just love silence in media. It plays such an important service. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you noticed it as you were playing, but the technology gods were with us once again. So there was a little bit of a accompaniment with the phone on there, but I'm sure it was what was meant to be, and we have some tonality with it as well.
Yeah, that happens a lot, and I've come to learn with that the because the sound is the essence of all matter, it's so much more powerful than the technology. And so the technology cannot always contain it. And so it goes on tilt. And yet over the years, I mean, technology is so much better today. I remember I'm an early adopter, and I've been teaching over the internet for many, many years. And I mean, at the beginning, over the phone lines, and these bridge lines, it would be. But people still, the people who I work with, they're people who are, they're ready to receive, or they're people who are at a crossroads and they're really, really ready to receive, so that, when they come to a course or when they've ordered music, so the music, the personalized music, I actually record at the sacred sites, or in nature. So that's a different thing. But the online technology, even with that, they get what they need. It's really, I find that astounding. I really like it, actually. You know what it shows? What I love about it is that it just helps us to accept our vulnerability and our imperfection, and how perfect is that? I mean, how amazing is it that, we're on two sides of the ocean and we can be connecting so intimately? That's just so beautiful.
It is such a beautiful thing.
I think that's much more powerful than if the technology is exactly right. I think it's a really, really important example, and I don't hear anybody talk about it. But that's like a really great example of how silence and how connection is much more powerful than the physical, material reality. Because it's from that connection from the inside. That's where empowerment comes from, isn't it? Because if you're disconnected inside, doesn't matter what you do on the outside. You just go into hell in a handbasket. I think that's what scares people so much. You know what else it's bringing up? Do you ever experience this? I experienced that as soon as I go to, and if the phone drops or something, this is just going to be a great example of it. When I go, I'm ready to record something or be on a radio show or a television show, or I'm recording something, or I'm giving a course, or I'm doing a Google Hangout, or whatever. It's like something happens. It's like Murphy's Law. There's something goes, quote unquote, wrong, and the feeling inside is like freak out or victim. Oh God, I'm out of control. And underneath that is this feeling of real vulnerability. And under that is like, if I don't allow myself to just contain myself and connect with myself in that vulnerability, then the negative side of that is to feel like a victim. And then that, if that's the focus, then that kicks into, well, I want to control it all, fix the sound, fix the this, the that, and it's like a downhill spiral. And when I go with the flow of the vulnerability and the discomfort, something really wonderful happens out of it. And every time it's something different, and I don't know what it is. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting, and unfortunately we've run out of time. I'd like to talk about this so much more. But it's re-looking at what perfection is. It's re-looking at what control is. If you look, how many times have you heard that every snowflake is different? So who can say which snowflake is perfect? Each snowflake is perfect as it is in its uniqueness. And so when we try to control something or to find that perfection, we're actually creating what is perfect. And yeah. Oh God, I can so relate. In fact, in Miriam's Secret, that's one of the questions that we really address. It's like, why do you listen to those critical voices inside, or let them run you, or why are we so afraid of what others think about us, or what if I put out something bad? Like, well, what's bad? What's good? Who's to say? And there's that old saying, and I can't get into it all now, but a man gets a wild horse that comes to him, and all the villagers say, what's great luck? And he says, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And as his son is trying to break this horse in, the son gets thrown and breaks his leg. Everybody in the town goes, oh, what horrible luck. And the father goes, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And the story keeps going on for that. So it's only in how we define things that gives them meaning. If we don't define it, getting the horse or not getting the horse, it just is.
Yeah.
this has been an amazing discussion. Thank you so much for playing for us today. And I know people can hear more of your music and probably in a much better recording on youtube.com/user/musicpeace. And they can also learn more about you at elianagilad.com/Miriam's Secret if you want a little look at her upcoming book. And there's also a free offer there for some soothing meditation music. And you can also receive more music at voicesofeden.com. Eliana, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was truly a powerful show, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you so much for being in service to empowerment, which is so important, particularly in these days. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be able to spend this time with you and with all of you who are on this call right now, whether it's the week of Christmas or sometime afterwards. Please remember how important your voice is and that your voice really, truly makes a difference. And to remember to do something kind for yourself today because you truly, truly deserve it.
Thank you so much for those beautiful thoughts, and thank you so much for being on the Empowerment Show.
You're welcome.
Join Melissa Heisler next week right here at The Empowerment Show. Join the conversation at facebook.com/The Empowerment Show or twitter.com/Empowerment Show.